Thank you for joining us today on Sketched Out, you animals. We know you basically have the option to listen to anything in the world, and we really appreciate you choosing us. If you are interested in Cecil's artwork, you can find him on Instagram at the artwork of Cecil Porter. Facebook is Cecil Porter Illustration. The YouTube channel is Cecil Porter, and you can visit CecilPorterStudios.com and support artwork and this podcast by purchasing prints and originals. As a reminder, if you do enjoy this content, please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And without further delay, let's pick up with the conversation.
Spewtron, the electric spugaloo.
Yeah, I got about 45 minutes in, but I was like editing video and shit. So
Yeah, that's all the further I got. I didn't make it more than 45 minutes in. That's too fucking long, man. 2 hours? Kidding me?
Yeah, but when you're like chatting with your buddy too.
Yeah, but
especially
you know,
if you haven't chatted for a while.
I mean, people must like it. He's getting like 100 downloads, so
right.
They must like those long format. You know, I think it's like I said earlier. You build the audience, right? Like you got people out there that will tell you that you know, that's way too long, but then have they tried to build that audience? No, their audience is accustomed to the 25-minute, half-hour one. You know,
it just depends on what you're doing and what your personality is.
Yeah,
if he's just kind of like a guy like he's on there, he's happy about it, he's chatting.
Yeah.
He's having a fucking great time.
Well,
like
when it's him solo, I mean, he does skits, he does music. I mean, he writes and edits his own music. And
that guy's a fucking variety show.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. That's exactly. That's it. That's the exact perfect definition.
No, I mean, he as a person, he's just a fucking variety show.
Yeah, it really is, and that just carries over, you know. And I mean, he doesn't know how to read music or anything, but he's still writing all these songs and he's making all the music, and he's
a Renaissance man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love it.
He's got that thing, you know, that extra something that always like takes people to that next level.
Right. Whatever that thing is.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it's the intangible thing. If people knew what it was or how to attain it, then everybody would have it.
Right. Like if big dick pills worked, like all of us wouldn't be walking around with just fucking 18-inch hammers.
I'll take an 18-centimeter hammer.
Brutal.
Just give me something. I used to have a buddy that used to tell me his dick was so short he would piss on his balls.
Did you ever get anything else from about the cards?
From him? Oh, I told you that's. He said go ahead and just trademark that because it's so close. Any little changes he makes aren't gonna.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're good on that. It's the interior. I still haven't gotten the specs worked out yet because I would like to do vertical and horizontal, but I don't know how well that's going to work. So I gotta actually.
How's that going to play on a board though?
That part ain't going to matter. It's just whether or not I can still get all the statistics for the characters.
Well, for some of it you will be able to, right? Is there a certain kind of card maybe that could be turned sideways?
No, it doesn't. That part doesn't matter. I'm just talking like image wise. Some of them will be. Like say 16 by 20, and then some will be 18 by 24, but it's still going to be the image on that.
Oh, I see. But you're just talking about the format in the
totally.
window, the window format.
So I, what I'm thinking is like maybe do the 18 by 24s with the statistics running down the sides of the painting, and then the 16 by 21s with the statistics running underneath the painting like they normally would.
I gotta check our fucking levels so that we don't go full numbnuts. Now that I've been doing all this fucking tweak search on this shit for our videos and stuff, it's like, well, now I don't have anything to fucking edit, and of course it's right as your computer fucking explodes.
Yeah, oh yeah, because I had so much, dude. I literally had 7 tattoos, 3 on top of those 7 that were in progress. So. Which I'm about to do the final session on. All 3 of those, they're gone. So there's not even any point in filming them.
I mean, maybe just film them for the finish session, and we could do some kind of short talk over
it just won't look good because it's just there's nothing interesting to do left on them. It's all like background and shit, you know. And it's like it's all crap. And so those are gone. And then I had 5 drawings. Those are gone. And that drawing that we posted. That was from like way back in California, like right. Before I even started Watts.
Right.
And I just said, got that
You just had
webcam.
it.
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
By the way, people were totally stoked on it. Totally stoked on that.
I know.
Like,
That's how it goes. It's the one you never think is going to be the popular one, is the one everybody blows up about. But I think they really like the subject, and I also really think that the thumbnail helped. But it definitely got a lot more traction on Instagram than it did on the website or on the YouTube. On YouTube, it did not get very many views, not compared to the other videos.
They'll all get there.
But it may not have got us very many views, but it ended up getting us like 21 new followers.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, or subscribers, whatever.
There's somebody subscribed to this. I know you did, but
well,
somebody did.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people from, or I'm sure it'll get checked out at least from Cig's thing.
Yeah, we'll get some overflow.
Yeah,
dude, this guy. I know this isn't your. Your bag isn't the editing side of the video. It's like the thing you hate the most, actually.
I hate anything that deals with the technology.
This guy, JayAreTV, is, first of all, his voice is like smooth as butter. He's one of those guys that is like a super engineer, but he's a video editor. He knows every fucking in and out. Okay, guys, today we're just going to do this thing real quick. We're going to mask this off green screen, then do a space scene, and then we'll do a 3D behind the background title sequence, and blah, blah. And he's just whipping out shit, and you're like, it's like 20 minutes long. It would take me, fucking 6 hours, if ever, to figure out what this dude does. And so now I just like, can I do what he can do? Nope.
Yeah.
But I've picked up some cool stuff, but the guy is like one of those like uber fucking geniuses and knows this wavelength and the color. I mean, he has all the color theory in his head, all what looks good. He's anyways, dude's a fucking genius and makes that paper, because then he makes these transitions and stuff and titles that he does on the channel, puts them up. $20.
Yeah.
$20, you know?
Yep, that's how you make it, man.
You want that beautiful shit, it's right there, $20. And guess what? Click, clack, I'm buying that.
Yeah.
Because I know how much time it takes to fucking do it when you're just some bumbling idiot in this program.
You see there's a heat wave coming this way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, like massive.
Yeah, dude.
It's in the Midwest right now, and it's slowly creeping, man. And I'm not looking forward to it.
Hey, brother, it's coming. All that heat's coming this way. You'll be stoked that you're here and you ain't in fucking Southern California.
I don't know.
Years, I'll tell you that.
Man, I don't know. In Southern California, it's been like way cooler than it has been here.
Dude.
It's 65 down there today.
That place is toast when the water rises.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it ain't going to be a few years.
Not a joke.
Yeah, no.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Hey, the way the weather keeps getting worse, I'm going to try to not be right on a fucking coast, I'll tell you that.
It ain't going to happen in my lifetime, I don't think. It is happening.
Sure,
and nothing
it's happening.
It's just they say it's way down the line, but it's to the point. I think they said within the next 12 years it'll reach a point of irreversibility, because even if they made the corrections in 12 years, it might be 13 years. Even if they make the corrections, even if they make the corrections within that time, because it doesn't just immediately drop. By the time it's done. So
everybody's dead, dude.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about dead. There's a lot of technology, but it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be.
Could be there's a technology though that does solve the issue.
I don't know about solving it, but it'll be enough to keep mankind alive. But it isn't going to be the life we're all used to right now.
We have no idea what kind of fucking technology is going to be around in 100 years.
No.
You know how it was happening 50 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Just 50 years ago to now? Yeah. I think it seems to keep happening. Especially if we can make some really smart machines and they'll kill us. And then they'll fix fucking everything, bro.
Well, that doesn't fix this keep mankind alive problem.
I said, fix the planet. Not so much about the mankind thing. I'm kind of over that part.
As long as the robots don't kill us until after my kid dies.
Yeah, but what if he's like the leader of the resistance? You're going to rob him of that?
Yeah.
Brutal. Do you like it with the top light on?
I don't care. I'm comfortable either way. The only time I ever really cared about the light in here was when I was trying to draw. Otherwise, I don't care.
Because it's right overhead.
Yeah. Well, this isn't enough light to draw, period.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care where the light was coming from as long as I had light.
Yeah, I really want to situate this room for some filming. Because now that I know how easy it is to green screen, like I can just legitimately just drop a sheet down and that you could film in here.
Yeah, that's what Cig does. He just drops it in. Yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's got to be.
I think he actually just painted the wall, if I remember right.
Well, you don't even need, it can be, well, this works perfect. You just go into the program and put that as the qualifier and boop, it's out, put a video behind it. It's a green screen. It's like it's kind of weird how stupid it is. Easy it is to like green screen and like pretty decent looking stuff too.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, from what I've seen, it's okay.
Depends. It really, dude, it's the amount of time that you want to put into. It's just like you doing a painting, you know. You can in these programs now, like DaVinci, when you can really get to the most micro in that image and really fine tune it. And some of those wizard guys, like the stuff they're doing in like 10 minutes in a tutorial, is like insane shit. Like that. Okay, maybe you're not gonna. That's not from like the Avengers.
Yeah,
but it's from like a sitcom.
Well, yeah,
it's
but they've also got shortcuts and stuff. You know, it's a learning curve, right? Like,
what is that? But okay, but so what? So you can produce like basically what's on TV.
Yeah.
In about 10 minutes.
You could always do that though. I mean, it's been that way for years and years, man. Like
I know, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, because when I used to have the whole creative suite from Adobe, like they had the exact same program that like the Tonight Show was shot on. They just gave it to you.
Right.
Like, here you go.
So, anyways, now that I watch stuff on TV, I'm like, yeah, but I can do that. So it's kind of ruined it a little bit. Although I do kind of like watching stuff to see how they cut in from different shots. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I have a couple filming books if you want them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, we were given them in school more or less just for composition because that's what it is, right? And so, but I don't even know, 3 or 4 different ones. Framed perspective is one of them, I'm sure. I can't remember them all, but
I definitely want to check them out because I do want to. Have you been recording anything?
No. Well, the painting I'm working on.
Any other stuff? Just like setting the camera up while you're motherfucker?
There's nothing to film, man.
Dude, it don't matter if you're just. I can just speed you up walking around the fucking studio.
I have one camera. It's got to stay where it's got to stay.
What do you mean?
I can't record me setting up a camera with another camera that doesn't exist.
Take mine then.
But I'm not setting anything up at this point. Right now, the camera's just there in front of the painting.
All I need is footage of you just doing stuff, dude.
I walk in, I sit down, I pick up my brush, and I paint.
Cool.
I'm not gonna take the time to set up a camera and film that.
Man, how the fuck are we ever gonna get fucking B-roll of you if you ain't gonna record any B-roll of you?
There will be when the time comes, but there's nothing to B-roll right now.
Well, then what's the time? When's that gonna be?
Maybe when I'm setting up to sculpt or something cool like that, or when I'm actually putting out paint or something. I don't know.
The point is, it doesn't need to be fucking entertaining. It's the non-entertaining part that we put in between the fucking entertaining parts where we're talking, dude. It's the setup shit. It's when you are sitting around doing the painting. It's when. That's what it's for. We speed it up. It's a fucking little cut-in thing. But I need like a bunch of that kind of shit. People want to see it.
Nobody wants to see that. They want to see me do the painting. They want to see me do the drawing. They want to see me do the tattoo. That's all people want to see.
They also were gonna. Nobody was gonna want to hear it last week. It was gonna suck. Nothing.
No, that's not the type of channel I'm building up. I don't mind doing like the setup stuff because that people do want to know that. They want to see why I set up the way I set up and how I set up and so on. And it is kind of unique compared to what most guys do, but. Man, I'm not doing any of that dumb shit. That's not what I'm doing this for.
What is not what you're doing what for?
I'm not
doing some extra B-roll shit.
I don't care about that. I don't want it in the video. I want the video just to be content that I care about.
All right, man. So can you ever film something that I can just fuck with for my purposes?
I'll give you the videos that I film, and you can do whatever you want to them.
Perfect.
You could
re-edit your shit.
No, well, you can edit it to begin with. Because I'll just give you the raw shit that ain't edited. It takes me forever to edit that shit. I'll just give it to you.
So what kind of video is he gonna do?
Exactly what I said. There'll be the sculpting videos, the drawing videos, the tattoo videos, the painting videos, the content that people come to see, and the reason why people like me follow people like me. And then
we have nothing.
And then we'll do the sketchbook walkthroughs, the setups, the breakdowns.
We gotta get something fucking going, man.
What's
What's going on with the sketchbooks?
I gotta have time to break them all down, scan them.
I thought you were having Ash do it.
She's not gonna do that. She's not gonna. She's not gonna do that.
No,
I never said that. I never said that.
Cut or something. Like
I never said that. I have to cut it.
I thought you said she was gonna take it somewhere to get done or spliced or some shit.
No, there's nothing like that. I have to take them to a copy place to get them scanned once I get them torn apart because my scanner's not big enough.
Maybe
I only have an 11 by 17.
Ooh.
But my sketchbook pages before you open them up, because you're gonna have obviously both pages because it's a piece of paper folded in half. My sketchbooks are bigger than an 11 by 17 before they're even folded apart, so now it's gonna be double that.
How good are the scanners that are that big?
Oh, dude,
good.
It isn't about a quality scanner. People think it's about a quality scanner. It's not. It's about the DPI you scan it at. So
I don't know how those big fucking scanners are.
Well, that's why. I mean, even like my shitty $40 HP. If I scan it at a 600 DPI, it's amazing. That's all you need. So I'll just take it there. You only need 300, but I always go 600 because I don't mind the overkill. But at 600 DPI, you can blow it up to the side of a house and it isn't going to look pixelated.
Oh.
So it's just going to be, plus it's a sketchbook too, so it's not like I'm trying to, reproduce a painting.
Aren't you going to lay some effect over it anyways before you put it out?
What do you mean?
I mean, when you put it into a book. Like, don't a lot of those guys lay like effects in with the sketchbook?
No, it's just like
I've seen a ton of them that
every
way
page,
to make the paper look a
dude,
certain way.
I have about 75 sketchbooks, and they're literally just scans of the drawings, and if they're not that interesting, they'll shrink them down and collage them on a page, and the ones that are really interesting will get a full page, and that's the end.
What was the thing? I thought it was you that even sent it to me. It was like a digital sketchbook.
Oh, that was a making of book. Those are different.
Oh,
that was a making of book.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you go all out because you're trying to make a coffee table book there.
Oh, gotcha. That's when you're really gonna lay in.
Yes, that's when it's going to be like the scans, like you said.
That's when Daddy shines.
Yes, with the borders. You're trying to make a hardcover book that people want to collect.
Exactly. Yeah.
The sketchbooks really only appeal to like your diehard fans and another artist. And they don't give a shit about that. They just want to literally see the sketches.
And they're not the high dollar.
Either. No, because you're selling them for like $15.
Right.
That's the ones
that's
that
the
are
whole point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there are some guys like, I'm not this guy, but like Alex Ross, right? He's one of the biggest names in it, and his sketchbooks they sell for a lot more, but that's because you're buying the name. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the average artist is gonna sell them for $15 to $25 depending on how many pages there are and yada yada yada. I mean, I got
your load on.
Dude, I got J. Scott Campbell's, who's a huge name.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, it's a little spiral bound thing on, I mean, it's just like,
sketchbook.
Yeah. So yeah,
his shit's rad. Have you been looking at his feed lately?
No, I don't follow him. I don't care for the way he draws.
Man,
I see why it appeals to people, but it doesn't appeal to me. It did when I was a kid, when he was doing Gen 13 and stuff. I was all into that, but. I just don't really care for that style. Some of these guys grind hard. If you're making a living in comics, you're not taking it easy. It's just impossible. Comics really is a labor of love. Like every dude who's like paying his bills doing comics is working his fucking ass off nonstop to do it. There's no laziness.
So then why do it?
Because people love it. It's a labor of love. You just kind of like, I want to do comics. I'm going to do comics. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I used to think I was until I did it. And then I was like, nope, I realize I'm more of a fan of this than I am a guy who wants to do it for a living.
But why wouldn't you, I still don't understand though, why wouldn't you, after you got your base, want to go do your own thing?
because it doesn't pay. Most independent comic books are lucky to sell 1,000 issues. You can't even get Diamond distribution until I think 2,000.
Man, it sounds like a terrible business.
It is. But if you love it, it's the thing that if you can't picture yourself doing anything else with your life, then you do it.
Then they're where they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying that the money's not. I'm just your point was maybe they're just not working hard enough. My point is you that's not the case. If they're not working hard enough,
no, but that's part of it. I mean, sorry,
it's not. It's not in comics. I'm telling you, man. I know too many guys that are pros, and there is no taking it easy, or you're not getting work.
I'm not saying that, man. But you get paid what you will accept as well.
Well,
and
to a degree,
this business is built upon this reputation. It just kind of sounds like they're all just really getting over on everybody, and everybody's just kind of saying, "Yeah."
Well, because you don't really have a choice. Because when you work for somebody like, say, Marvel, and you go, "Geez, man, you're only giving me $175 per page. I can't really survive on that." They say, "That's fine. Then we'll just give it to so and so in the Philippines," and you lost your job. 87% of Marvel's workforce is based in the Philippines.
So how's that? I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. Is like, this seems like a real. I understand the, like the allure of. I'm in, like I work on X project.
It's not that they don't care what project they work on. They just want to do comics. They're obsessed with doing comics. It's like.
But then when you're treated that way,
you don't care. You're just doing the thing you love to do, and as long as you can keep your head above water, that's all that matters to you.
Wow. I don't relate to that.
That's what being passionate about something is.
What? I think that's a little bit of a misguided thing to say. There's definitely different ways of going about it and still being able to do what you want to do, and also taking care of some business, though.
I don't know, man. If you got the answer, then there's tens of thousands of people who haven't figured it out, and you have.
Dude, you deal with it all the time.
I'm not in comics.
Well, ditch the fucking comic thing, man.
No, I'm only specifically talking about comics.
What I'm saying is, there's no other job you could do as an artist, and then also do your own comic if what you love.
No, there's not. It's too time consuming. You have this thing where you just think everything gets done in an hour, man. You constantly send me messages all day like, "Hey, do this logo, do this, do that."
Okay, dude, are you going to get bitchy about this logo thing? Because
I'll get bitchy about everything
twice. I asked you twice.
You've asked me way more than twice. But
pull your fucking phone out if you want to get into it, dude.
No, but you've asked me in person. You've talked about it. That's not the point. The point is that people who don't do art think this stuff just gets done. Now, how are you supposed to work 12 to 15 hours a day?
So now you're going to give me a nuts and bolts conversation after you just gave me this whole fucking passion response. When I said to you nuts and bolts, you said passion. And then you want to go nuts and bolts with me.
Don't try to spin this. Either listen or don't listen and change the subject. The point is that how are you supposed to work on your own book, which is going to take 12 to 15 hours per page if you're fast, and still work another job that pays your bills? You're picking one or the other, or you're not doing it.
Dude, that's not true, dude.
It is.
That's not true.
How is it not?
That's not true.
Again, tens of thousands of people don't know that do it professionally, but you've got the answer and you've never touched a pencil.
So, what I'm talking about, because you're going to talk down to me because I'm not an artist, and what I'm saying to you is I understand time and how time works. Okay, so I know how many hours there are in a day. And I know how much time gets fucking wasted, spilled upon the fucking ground.
No,
and dude,
you've not worked in comics, bro. I've been there with guys that have laid their heads down on the table to go to sleep. I'm only speaking about comics. Comics, period.
I totally get it. But my point is, if you're talking about it being because it's your passion, what I'm saying is it your passion to create a comic, right? Something that you love. Something that you're really into, or do you just care about I work at X place?
I've never talked to anybody who just cared about that. Okay. Not one person working in comics.
I'm trying to drill down into it because it sounds like you have a terrible time. It's fucking
people
really
love it.
hard
they
on
love
you.
It.
You can barely make it by.
Right. The barely making it by is the only thing.
And you're not even doing your own art. So that's what I'm saying is you're telling me that it's, and I'm talking about, again, time.
Yeah.
I know it takes time to do your pages, but if you were doing your own project, if you had some whatever the other job is that takes 10 hours out of your fucking day, you would have the time for your passion project. So I'm saying is, what do they really love? Because if you just love,
they love doing what they're passionate about for a living and making money doing it. They cannot picture
no matter how
themselves.
terrible.
Yes, because they can't picture themselves doing anything else. They become miserable cunts if they do that. They don't want that. They want to do comics for a living. The thing is that Diamond Distribution has a chokehold on the industry, and I believe the number is 2,000. You have to sell 2,000 units a month just to get Diamond Distribution. Yes, just to get Diamond Distribution. And that is damn near impossible when you're an independent comic guy. So you're not getting distribution.
And this is just physicals?
So then
it's about physicals?
Yeah. So then how do you get any kind of distribution on your book if you don't use Diamond? Because they're the only distribution for comics. So you either work for a company, can get you distribution, or you don't work. And then you're just making a comic that you can sit around and play with.
Is it still all about physicals with comics?
With Diamond Distribution, because that's distribution.
Right.
It's not, I mean, look, there's digital, but
it's just not the same as...
Yeah, I'm telling you, most people who buy comics, they just want to have... There's collectability today.
Not anymore, because
because mass production. Yep, totally.
Yeah.
When it was like, they were like, look, we can only print 50,000 copies of this because it's, silk screen, or not silk screen, but, like, printing press.
It took a fucking long time.
Yeah, totally. And
the feel of them was different, and the paper was better.
The cost was insane. And so you had these guys making these books, and then there was collectivity because there was a certain number.
Right.
But nowadays you can pump out 200,000 comics for a fraction. It's nothing. Yeah. The thing that
made
sucks,
in China.
The thing that sucks is you got these guys busting their asses to create these comics, and I get it's not all about comics. And look, if you go on, you can check the stats. Like the top 4 or 5 books are Batman, and the top book I think is selling close to like 400,000 worldwide, and then the drop is ridiculous. I mean, it's like straight down to like 100,000, and then everything below that
is 10 and then 2.
Yes, yeah, and it's like
either know
crazy.
you or you're fucking nobody.
Yes, and it's fucking crazy, and so it's like if it is the thing you want to do, the only thing you want to do. Now, look, I like being an artist. Right, we obviously know this. Yeah,
right.
I thought I wanted to do comics, but that wasn't my passion. My passion is literally just doing art, and whatever medium fulfills me at the time, I'm happy doing.
Sure,
and so oil painting is what does it. But
for now,
yeah. Well, it could have been comics, but it wasn't. But for these guys that are, to do any other medium is just, they might as well not even do it.
So I guess, my question then really though isn't it just the business of comics that got you out of it though? Wasn't that
no,
why
I mean,
you got out?
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. That does play a part in it. But if my passion was to do comics, I would make it work, right?
You just weren't laser focused. That wasn't
right.
your thing.
Yeah, no.
So when it was kind of going sour, you were like, all right.
It was even before that. I mean, because right away I wasn't making any money. But I did like the camaraderie of being around a group of guys who did it and all that stuff. Yeah. But the thing is like after doing it professionally, I just kind of, like with pretty much everything else I tried, I realized, nah, this ain't the thing. This ain't the one that does it for me, and I mean, that comics was not the only one. How many things have I tried? Because I was never taught, so I was never like presented. In some institutions, they'll have you try these different things out.
Right.
So you, as part of your learning process, you can kind of zero in on what you really feel.
I hate that shit. Yeah. I like that.
I never had that, so I had to try it, and because I had bills, I had to try it and do it professionally.
It's all good.
So there was no real trial and error, and I was lucky enough to get into a big company and do what I did, and I got to work on some Hulk issues, and I got to do some cool stuff, but it was enough for me to be like, all right, I could see being around those guys that I didn't have what they had, like when these guys like eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and I'm still going home and drawing fantasy creatures and doing my thing. I realized, like, yeah, it ain't comics for me. Meh. It's not, and again, like, it's not that I don't want to do comics, because I do want to do the anthology series, and I do want to work on my graphic novel, but that's more about developing my world and less about doing comics. You know what I mean?
the medium's not really the.
Yeah, at this point, I just want to develop my world, and those are just different avenues I want to do it. I think the game helps develop the world. I think that the novels help develop the world. I think that, you know, the more ways I can do it, the toys, everything develops the world a little bit more, and it's more fun.
Well, and then it stops you from getting too bored.
Yes, because that is another problem of mine, is that when I do just dial in on one thing, I do get bored pretty easy.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. And that's a big problem, right? I don't think there's a problem with like practicing multiple things, because I know, like, once I started sculpting, it gave me a better understanding of the 3D, and that helped my 2D. You know, like a lot of guys will be like, "Oh, if I learn this, then I'm not going to be good at this." I don't think that's the case. I think you can pick one to kind of put above the rest, right? Like for me, it's the oil painting, but using the other stuff, to me, I'm still practicing the same skills that I use in the oil painting, whether I'm drawing, sculpting, whatever, but they all have their own little thing that help me become better at the oil painting.
Yeah, you benefit from being more well-rounded no matter what.
I think so. I mean, there are guys who just do one thing and that's it, and that's fine, but it doesn't work for me. And then, like you said, I get bored. And
those guys have real hard edges. Like, you know, as soon as you see their stuff, you're like, oh, boom, that's his work.
Yeah. And, you know,
and that's okay. I mean, I guess that's good to have that kind of the style, but I think it's cool to have I think it's way better to have the ability to be able to perform in a ton of different scenarios and mediums. And
it's more fun. And, you know, one thing that I found too is, like, when I started sculpting, I would have never thought it looked like my stuff. I just thought it would look like a sculpture. Yeah. And it looks like my stuff. Right. I mean, and it's 3D. Like, so yeah. So I think that, like, that's the thing too, is the medium doesn't matter. If you have a style, it's going to carry over, you know? Right. And that was really surprising to me, to be honest.
Your eye's your eye, though. I mean,
yeah,
maybe trying to get it. I know we all know that feeling of, like, I know that's supposed to go right in that spot, but how do I get the fucking tool to do it?
Yeah.
But you know that you're going to get it. It'll be pretty close. You need to learn some of the techniques.
Yeah,
so you can affect your eye a little bit better on that medium.
I think it all is synergetic, and if you know, and I know that a lot of schools will make you take some sculpting classes for that reason, because you're going to get a better understanding of the 3D, because you actually have to make that art in the 3D.
Right.
And so when you sit down to draw it, you're going to have that information in your head. I don't understand how that couldn't be beneficial.
You're not pretending to make a nose in 3D, drawing it on a flat plane. You're making a 3D nose. You need to actually be able to build that structure.
Yeah, and because, you know, you start kind of at an anatomical level, right? So, like, you're laying those muscles in over top of your armature and stuff. It's only going to give you a better understanding of the muscles, how they insert, how they move, how they wrap, you know, and I think all that stuff's beneficial. But like you said, man, I get bored. Every time I've zeroed in on just one medium, I get bored.
Yeah.
I have to have something new.
Is it just medium, or is it like what you're working on too?
It can be both, yeah.
All the above.
Totally, yeah.
Because you burnt out. It seemed like you burnt out pretty hard on caricature.
Well, that was more or less. It was the same thing as comics. It was like, I think I was pretty, you know, decent at it. I got a lot of attention pretty quick. I had some cool stuff happen, and so I kind of was like, cool, this is great. And then, you know, after a while doing it, I was just kind of like, I think I like doing this for fun, but this is not doing it for me.
I'm not going down this road professionally.
No.
If I'm hanging out and I'm sketching, excellent.
Yeah, and, you know, like, I'm working on a caricature commission right now. Like, I don't mind doing them. They're still fun, but it wasn't the thing, like, that I wanted to make my quote unquote job. And that was a long time, man. I'm pretty old to have just figured that out, and it hasn't been that long ago, you know? Like, I always talk about my buddy Cig, man. Cig was like 3 years old, and he knew he was going to do special effects, doing like Wolfman paper mache masks and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, geez, I didn't even pick up a pencil to draw till I was 12.
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I'm like 37.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm into this editing stuff, and then I'll be into something else.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know, man. The editing stuff, you seem to be catching on super quick. Like, I don't think you give yourself enough credit for that. Every time you send me something, I'm like, geez, that seemed like it just kind of came naturally to him. Maybe that is your side hustle or something, you know?
Maybe. I think I just kind of always, like, if there's something to do, I think I'm just a doer.
Well, for as long as I've known you, you've always been really techie too. And
For sure,
obviously this kind of falls into that category.
Oh yeah,
because I'm
oh
like,
man,
I'm like the anti-techie.
Yo, if I showed you what
I
that
wouldn't
stupid
understand it.
little video,
I wouldn't understand it.
What I put together. No, if I showed you one clip of what I had to put in to make that stupid title, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, cool geometry." So anyway,
yeah,
you know,
I
think that's why I can be artistic, but I'm doing it in an engineering.
Oh yeah, there's so
way,
many different ways to be artistic. That's why people always want to classify art as either music or painting. And I'm like, you've limited yourself so much, man. There's so many things.
I never considered myself artistic, but I'm definitely doing a ton of artistic stuff.
Building websites is artistic. You know, like, I mean, to build a good website that catches somebody's eye, like, that's art, dude.
Yeah, totally.
You know, there's so many different things that people just don't give credit to it actually being an art, because people have these blinders on that, like, if it's music, it's art, and if it's painting, it's art, and nothing else is art. And it's like, man, what? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of cool to be able to, at least it's kind of nice to know that a guy who's like me, who's an accountant, can do something that is, quote, artistic.
Well, I think that's the thing, though. Like, I think people would be much happier if they found their creative outlet.
Right.
But because they do have those blinders on of, like, it's drawing, painting, singing, whatever, and I don't do any of those, then I can't. I'm not creative. And it's like, man, there's so many things. Like, make jewelry, that's creative. You know, I mean,
right.
And there's just so many things that could be considered creative, and it's just about getting that other side of your brain. You know, or I know that's not really the thing anymore nowadays. They know it's not a right left side thing, but
sure,
whatever. Like, it's just hitting.
I know the sentiment, though.
Yeah, it's just hitting that thing where, like, you get these guys that, even these guys that, like, they get really good at, going to, like, garage sales and stuff, and, like, even just being able to put together, like, this whole, like, oh, this is what's in right now, and I can buy this or this. That's creative. That's totally creative.
Yeah,
and when you it's just like people who are creative, they need to dial it back sometimes and think about, like, working that other side for them. Or, it's just like I look at it like working out. It's like, if you only train your major muscle groups and none of your supporting muscles, eventually your major muscle groups start to lag behind because your supporting muscles are holding them back. And it's kind of the same thing. I think people in general, if they worked out both their analytical and their creative side, they would find themselves progressing faster on both fronts.
Yeah. Well, it's like when people say they start working out, they start doing better at work.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of thing.
Exactly.
Building in the balance, but you're just talking about, instead of the body side, you're the brain side.
Yeah.
If you're sitting at a desk crunching numbers all day, you probably should be the motherfucker that goes home and smokes a joint and does some painting.
Something. Or if not painting, even just writing, or, blogging is creative, like,
sure.
So journaling is creative, scrapbooking. I mean, I don't care. There's something out there for everybody. There's something that will resonate with you. Find that, because you're going to find it making yourself better. I think a lot of this, people being too stressed out and people being, anxiety and this, that, and the other, a lot
scared
of that is because
like, scared to look silly. People get really weird about that failure stuff too now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just the fact that they don't allow themselves to express their creative side, where when you look a couple even my generation, man, we were pushed to be creative. That was before, they started really slashing that shit in schools. You were pushed to be creative. We
still had music and art programs.
Not in school, but, like, your extracurricular activities usually centered around sports and creative outlets. And, you were kind of, like, told, go outside and use your imagination by your parents.
Go outside and play.
Yeah, and everything on the TV that we watched, like Sesame Streets and Fraggle Rock and all that stuff, was all about, like, using your imagination. And that stuff doesn't exist now. And I think that's really a lot of what's, like, people just aren't working out that side as much, and so they're finding themselves ending up in these slumps. And it's important, man. It's important to work that out just as much as it is to become book smart.
I think just balance.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be just balanced, man.
It is.
If you're the guy that's always doing curls, you're gonna look weird. If you're the guy at the gym doing curls,
or if
that's all you do, you look weird.
If you're the guy
bro.
eating McDonald's every night,
bingo,
your health's gonna go to shit.
Right.
You have to find, like you said, that's perfect. You have to find the balance.
Hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
The older you get, the harder balancing is, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah. But, a lot of that comes down to a lot of different reasons, but most of it comes down to, I feel, as we get older and the world is kind of beat down on us, whether we've consciously let it or not, you kind of end up in that mindset of not wanting to do anything that feels uncomfortable. And when you don't do things that feel uncomfortable, then you're just going to continue to do the same thing over and over again, and you get into a rut.
And you definitely never get better.
But when you're a kid, you're kind of gung-ho to do whatever, you'll do whatever, and you'll try it, and you'll suck at it, and you don't care. You kind of have this bravado as a kid, and that sort of goes away as the world beats you down and tells you can't every day.
And you've never also been really good at something too.
Yeah, you're still trying to find that thing.
Right. It's disheartening when you are good at something and then you're not anymore. That's usually around our age, and people start getting divorced and all that kind of shit. It's like,
well, there's a thing in art, man, where guys just burn out sometimes and they'll lose it. And I've seen it, and it's heartbreaking when you see these guys that were phenomenal. And I don't even want to say any names because it's heartbreaking, but you get these guys that were phenomenal, and then they just it's like they didn't even know how to draw. And it happens so quick, and you're like, how did that happen? And it's not
down.
It's just, and I don't know. I'm sure sometimes age has something to do with it. Like you literally lose your eyes, or arthritis, whatever. But I'm some of these guys are younger, and you're just like, what the fuck happened to this dude? And they kind of know it, because I've seen a couple of these guys. One I'm thinking of in particular really took a step back because he knew, and it ain't coming back, man. And it's like, what happened? How does that, because you don't want it to happen to you.
It's time to plan a new direction in life.
Yeah. Hope you made a big enough name that can sustain you.
Art director.
Yeah. I wish more art directors were phenomenal artists before they became art directors. That'd make my life easier.
Yeah, it's tough, huh?
Yeah, dude. When you get an art director that's 10 years younger than you and never really drew a day in his life, it ain't no fun. As a rule of thumb, I don't think most people like to work for people younger than them. But when you get, a 24, 25-year-old kid who's telling you how to do your job and he's not a good artist, that can be a little heartbreaking. And I get the whole idea of like, some coaches were horrible athletes, but they can be phenomenal coaches. But that's not generally the case.
Yeah, and also though, those coaches aren't like saying like, yeah, oh yeah, Cecil, you got to change this about, they're kind of giving them some guidance, but they're not taking some superstar player and being like, no, switch to your left hand. I don't like how you do this.
That's a lot of the problem with working for smaller companies. Like I like working for smaller companies when I get the opportunity to, because there's less cooks in the kitchen, but the quality of cook can drop too. and then it
can be real inconsistent, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's just small business.
Yeah, because in a lot of cases, these companies that are smaller, they can't afford the really good art directors, or the really good art directors are already working for the big companies or whatever. And, then you just kind of have to decide, who do I want to work for? I don't know. Everybody's got their thing. When I have worked for smaller companies, I get paid a lot more than a lot of people think that you should. And a lot of people say they can pay, but I think that's just understanding the business side.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of artists fall flat, and they'll be like, oh, I work for the smaller company and they said they can only pay me blank. And, I'm like, I made twice that, dude. But you don't tell them that, And there's a guy I watched on YouTube who's the same way. He works for really small, almost indie press companies, and his contract is like, I call the shots, you don't get a say, and I want this amount of money. And the guy just gets work handed to him because he's proven himself by that method.
Right.
It's not like he's done that and then turned out a flop of a book,
Exactly. As long as you can produce.
Yeah, if you can back it, nobody's going to fight you. Yep.
You can earn. I mean, that's the same way in my business. It's like, hey, I can produce. I'm an earner.
That's kind of what I'm hoping to do with this game and book and stuff. Is like, it's one thing. I was talking to a guy who's really big into gaming, and like any of the niche kind of categories, like tabletop gaming or comics, stuff like that. The fans are obviously super loyal if you get a fan, and like the guy was telling me, he's like, man, you just don't get it. He's like, when these people play these tabletop games, if it's decent, the fan base will be rabid. You know, he's like, it's just a great, great, great fan base to get into. And he's like, if you have one game, they'll buy your second game. And if you have a second game, they'll buy your third game. And it's just, you know, that's nice to hear because I kind of hope that happens, right? I mean, I have other avenues in place. Like I've talked to people about, you know, selling the IP if it flops for me or doesn't do well. And I think we talked about that already, right?
About selling the IP?
Yeah. Oh, so like part of what I was talking to one guy about, like I would love to sell IPs. I would just like to hang on to this one, but I have so many IPs that I'm trying to do that's kind of where I'd like to get is selling the IP. But like one guy was telling me, he's like, you know, a way that this works a lot of times is you might create a game that doesn't do enough for you to justify making it, but a bigger company might look at it and go, what's this going to take away from our year net? Oh, it might take away 1%. Okay, well, what's that mean? Well, it's going to be X amount of money. All right, so contact this guy, or if he contacts us, or whatever way you go, and let's work out a deal to where we could just buy this and it goes in the trash, and then we no longer have to worry about losing that 1%. And so like maybe your game flops, but you still might sell it to a bigger company for 50 grand and at least get something on the back end, just because these guys, they just don't want they don't want anything to take away from their profit. And if they think maybe we lose 70, but then they'll give you 50 just to get it out, just get it away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if it does flop, then I'll take that route because I got 2 more IPs already started developing and I'll just jump on them.
Yeah, but we're not going to plan for that.
Well, you got to plan for it. You just don't want it to happen, but you have to have a contingency plan.
Well, you know that
just like I have a plan on the other side, where if it becomes super successful, I've got, you know, a little group of artists that I'm going to hire right off the rip, so that we can get the next booster pack out. You know, so you want to plan on both sides. Obviously, you can't go into any project thinking it's going to be a failure, because it will.
That's what I'm saying.
But you need to have plans that cover everything.
Sure. But
I don't think it's going to be a failure at all. If I did, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing to my career to make it happen.
Right.
You know, I've cut my income in half to make this thing.
Yeah, what's the fucking point?
Yeah. Why? I was making okay money.
We'll just make it, and then you and me'll play.
Yeah, and well, not just that, but I wouldn't even make it if that was the case. If I didn't believe in it being a success, I wouldn't make it. I was making okay money. I would just keep doing that. But I think I got, you know, a lot of stuff that'll be kind of cool, man. I think, you know, between the game, between the figures, between the art book, you know, all that stuff, I think it's a cool little thing that you just don't see a lot of guys do. And everything, I've been doing a ton of research on the whole like crowdfunding and stuff, and it really seems like if you can just prove to people you're putting out a quality product that is done, it's not in the stages of being done, it's really hard to fail. I mean,
well, the backing that you're looking for usually is a pretty attainable number.
Mine is not for most tabletop games. Most tabletop games, when I started
talking about the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I started looking into the game, and we talked about this, but the cost for one of these games it's like $450,000, man. That's why you don't see a lot of quality ones out there. It's too expensive, you know, to indie do it, you know. And if you're a company, I don't think I would take that risk either. What if it doesn't catch and you just invested $500,000 on something that went belly up? Luckily, I've got connections and I've used those so that all I have to on this is $25,000 of that $450,000.
Right.
You know, which I want to blow that, go out of the water, and that's where the figures and everything else comes in, because I want to really be able to put out these cool items and all these, you know, incentives like the aluminum cards and stuff like that, and the wrapped in wax paper, all this stuff. I really want to blow that, go out of the water, not to make more money, but so I can put out more stuff that pertains to my world.
Yeah.
But everything I've seen so far, and I've been doing a ton lately because it's getting closer and closer, is you just have to show these people that, hey, this thing's done, it works, and I'm only asking for the money to produce it. And those ones are usually the ones that succeed. And hitting the popular page is important too, but that's a given. You only need a certain number of followers on Facebook, and I'm like 150,000 over that number, so
good to go.
Yeah.
Quality video though.
Yeah, the video is important, obviously, because the way it was described to me was, if your video looks like it was shot on your iPhone, what message does that deliver to your audience about the quality of your product?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, production value. I mean,
They want to see you try.
I would think the same thing on
It's the same.
the game.
It's the same thing we've been told about the YouTube thing. They want to see you put some effort out.
Right.
You know, if you put some effort out, people will reciprocate.
They fucking sure better, because goddamn, it's a lot of work. I'm putting a lot of work into learning this shit.
It is time consuming.
Super. Yeah.
You know,
I think like everything, the better I get, I'll probably get pretty slick.
It's still taking me a full day, not counting the artwork that I have to produce. It's still taking me a full day to edit and get the video together and all that stuff. That's a day out of my workday, man. And then
Can you tell me about the process that you do when you're doing these videos?
Mm-hmm.
What's the base that you're starting from? Are you starting from, I have this video, I have it sped up,
I take all the video in there and I kind of speed it up to a certain percentage to what I think looks good,
where visually you can still follow a little bit.
We're like, I don't want to go to sleep watching it,
right?
But I also can see what's going on, you know, because I want people who aren't artists to like it, but I also want people who are trying to learn from it to be able to do that.
Right.
And then I'll start putting in the audio, and you know, so then I have to go through what we record, find the little tidbits that tie together nice, equal a decent amount of time, and then I can adjust the speed a little bit one way or the other to fit the length of audio that came out sounding okay. You know, and then obviously you go in and remove all the dead air, like if we stop talking for 5 seconds or something like that, or if a lot of times I'll be mid-thought and stop for a second, you know, to like kind of think of how I want to finish the thought. And that, you know, sounds bad. Cut that out, stuff like that. That's not it's really finding, you know, like if we talk about today, like if we talk about the whole, like, why can't I make it look like I see it in my head? Mm-hmm. It's finding that 10, 12 minute of our hour and a half conversation on that sells that point, you know, and it's usually 2 minutes here, minute and a half here, you know, 3 minutes here, and then you just kind of it together.
Man, we got to get better at that continuity then, because that's it really just shouldn't take that long to be for what the video is that's being produced. We're not doing like these aren't like big productions that we're talking about.
There is a part of it that is going to be. I mean, I agree. Like us having.
No, I'm not downplaying what.
No. But I agree. Videos. Like us having a continuity in what we talk about helps. You know, like
getting big swaths
again,
of.
Nobody's ever going to see it or hear it, but it did take a far less amount of time to get that snippet for the painting that I did of the old lady, and you know, that was really good. And you know, we're just starting this shit, man. We're gonna get into a rhythm where we can make it interesting. We can have a little heated debate that juices stuff up. We can have little jokes. We can have little pods and prokes. We can have little sidebars, and we're gonna get into a rhythm. And then even that's gonna make it easy to go in and be like cha-chunk, cha-chunk, cha-chunk. You know, we're just getting our feet wet on this shit. It's gonna take time. It's just like anything else. You're not gonna be good at it right away.
It'd be nice to get like. I want to be able to get you like 15-minute chunks. I think 15-minute chunks, if we can do that, then we can, if you could piece 2 15-minute chunks or 2 pieces of 2 15-minute chunks, you always have some kind of
I get
7 to 30-minute window that you could then use.
I think the problem that we're having is the topics we're hitting are pretty wide, right? So like tonight with that, you've seen what I sent you. You know, it's like you don't want to lose any of that. You want to cover all that stuff, or at least a majority of it. Right. You know, because you wouldn't want to, like, a lot of that is procedural. So sure. You wouldn't want to, like, be like, okay, here's the first 3 steps, and that's all the time we have. You know, it's like.
See you next week.
Yeah.
Sketch out.
So then you got to go in and be like, okay, we talked about step number 3 for 20 minutes. Where can I find 2 minutes that summarizes that flows into the 2 minutes from this to 2 minutes of that, you know what I mean? So that in the end, I have a 12-minute video that's cohesive and still covers everything. And I really think like we do need to do it kind of the way we are, because train of thought wise, you really can get like these nice little, I didn't really think about that until I was talking da-da-da, and it really kind of covered that. And so it
you
works.
Gotta flow a bit though.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
Yeah, otherwise you're just like, and then I take the brush and, you know, or whatever, you know, you're not really getting to the nitty gritty of it. You're just kind of topically covering it, you know, and I don't know. That's just not that great. Like when I was writing out the outline in my book, there was a lot of like, you know, do this step, and then I'd be like, yeah, but what really am I trying to say there, you know? And then it'd be like, oh, well, you know, this is what I really wanted, and then scratch out the line before, and you know, and
yeah,
and it's kind of that sort of happens while you're talking too. So it's great, and it fills out the podcast nice, because then you can really take that time to expand on it. And a lot of times when you're trying to get a message across to somebody, the way that I say it to, you know, Steve isn't going to make sense to Mark. So as I continue to extrapolate and expand on the topic, now maybe I say it in a way that Mark gets, you know, and so on and so on. So it's nice to have those moments where you can expand on it too. But it's when it comes time to doing the video, then it's really about like, where is it? Where is it? There it is. Boom. And then there's your section.
And it's right now we have really limited source material as far as like videos, images, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like a really tight kind of process.
I don't have anything to post. I'm going to have to, after work tomorrow, I'm going to have to jam out a drawing until 5 or 6 in the morning just so I have something to post.
Something to post up, yeah.
You know, and that sucks. I don't want to do that.
Join us next week on Sketched Out as we continue our discussion about nothing important. If you have questions you would like Cecil to cover in the podcast, use the email reallysketchedout@gmail.com and include the phrase podcast question in your email subject. Also, this podcast is currently unsponsored. If you would like to sponsor an art podcast that isn't about art, but isn't really about other things either, email reallysketchedout@gmail.com. As always, we'll see you next time, animals.